Hello, everyone. Today we will talk about Nova Scotia PNP, one of the hottest streams, which is Critical Construction Worker Pilot. So, Nova Scotia has always been one of the best provinces to get PR, and there are many reasons. First, for most of their kind of PNP streams, there is no like expression of interest. You don't have to create a profile first. There's no application fees. So, really good overall. And right now, Critical Construction Worker Pilot is quite a hot stream. So, we'll talk about this in detail. So before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Sandhu, and I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant based out of Ontario, Canada. And here's the disclaimer. So this is only for informational purposes and should not be construed as legal advice. If you want a legal or professional advice, do book a consultation with a licensed practitioner, could be a consultant or an immigration lawyer. So let's dive right into it. So first thing is that let's look into what are the eligibility requirements, right? So this is a job offer pathway. So only for people who have a permanent full-time job offer from a Nova Scotia employer in the construction sector. So what is permanent? It means that there is no contract, right? And what is full-time? It means at least 30 hours per week for the whole year. Let's look at the eligibility in more detail. If you see, you need to have a permanent full-time job offer in a Nova Scotia with a Nova Scotia employer in the construction industry, which is a NAICS code 23 in one of these national occupation classifications. So there are many basically NOC codes in which you could qualify. It starts with construction managers, home building renovations, and then a couple of contractors come, sheet metal workers, welders, carpenters, HVAC, crane operators, concrete finishers, plasters and drywall installers, roofers and shinglers, residential and commercial installers and servicers, heavy equipment operators, material handlers. So now even tier 5 is there. Construction trades, helpers and laborers, other trades, helpers and laborers. And you need to have 1 year of work experience related to the job. And this 1 year experience can be from anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be from Nova Scotia, it could be from Ontario, it could be from any country outside Canada, anywhere. And they must have a high school diploma or proof that they have completed a construction specific industry training program. So any education if you have done from outside Canada, so you need to prove it with a ECA. So it's called as Education Credential Assessment, and there are a couple of organizations which are designated. Only from those organizations you can get it done. And your age must be between 21 to 55. And you have to prove the language ability to the Canadian language benchmark, level 5, if your job offers in tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. And if it's a tier 4 or tier 5, then the CLB level is 4 for either the English or French. And you need to have enough financial resources to successfully settle in Nova Scotia, which is very critical. Some people just ignore that. Oh, you know what? That's not that important. And how to apply? You, of course, apply online. So the two documents, two guides and forms which are very critical is one is the application guide that will have complete details about the program, and the employer information form, NSNP 200. So it's the form which has to be filled by the employer and need to be attached with a file. Now, let me basically look into the NAICS guides and forms which are very critical. Is one is the application guide that will have complete details about the program, and the employer information form, NSNP 200. So this is the form which has to be filled by the employer and need to be attached with a file. Now, let me basically look into the NAICS. What is this thing, right? So this is basically North American industry classification system, right? So what they do is that they classify different industries into, they have a code for that, right? So if you see, there's 11 code is reserved for a sector which is agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting, and similarly the one we are interested in is in construction, which is 23. And then there are wholesale, trade, retail, trade, transportation, warehousing. So a lot of people try to get confused between these ones, and they are actually working in, let's say, some kind of a store which provide construction equipment or other kind of thing, and they think, oh, you know what, I'm working in the construction sector. I got a job offer in the construction sector. A lot of confusion is there, and they might be making the wrong choice. And if I open it further, it will drill down further what is 23 includes. So it's construction of building, heavy and civil engineering construction, specialty trade construction, And if I go even further, so if you see there are like layers to it, right? So then it tells you what is residential building construction, non-residential building construction. If I even go further, it will have another subset, right? So it can go on and on and on in a way. So I think this is where it ends, right? So then if I click on this for this specific thing, that's this. No, it doesn't end even there. So you can go on and on in a way, right? But the main thing we have to understand is for our purposes, we have to focus that it has to be 23 construction industry, right? Now let's look at the what is the document checklist, right? And while going through the document checklist, so I will be giving you a little bit more information about each of these things. So first thing is that you have to fill an online application. So online application, if you go here and if you say apply online, it will automatically take you to the portal where you will be submitting your application. It takes around 60 minutes to fill that application. And then if you go here, then you have the NSNP 200. So this is the employer form. So this form is approximately 14 pages. So the employer has to fill in this specific form with all the details, right? And they will also have to provide you with these kind of things, which is like, for example, a position description, a job offer, accepted job offer, and all these information has to be provided, and you have to attach it with the application. If you are already, let's say, on a postgraduate work permit or open work permit, of course, then the employer doesn't have to go into like where did they advertise and was it an LMIA or not. But if that's not the case, they have to basically prove that either it should be an LMIA based job offer, or it has to be they have to done they have to have done the recruitment effort. So those are the things which are critical in that case. Okay, and it cannot be ignored, right? And at the end of this, they have to sign, and basically you will then use this specific form and submit with the application. Then you have, if you're using a representative, so let's not bother there. So then you have work experience, right? Obviously, the work experience has to be related uh, to the job offer, so that is critical. And what you need for that is, let's say if I go here, so one of the things you need is that it should be on a letterhead and it should address all of these things. It should be company's full address, company's information, supervisor or HR person or responsible person's signature. It tells you when did you work, what was your title, what were the main duties, salaries, how many hours you worked, and how many total hours did you work. So that is bare minimum you need to provide in this specific case, plus any T4s and pay stubs would be important as well. And then if you see here, then you have the education, right? Either you need to have credential, and if you're working in a licensed occupation, then you need to have a license in order to, perform that duty. Evidence of English. So as we mentioned that if you are going to be working in tier 0, 1, 2, 3, which is your job offer, then you need to have CLB 5. So this is the CLB chart. So if it's IELTS, it's listening 5, reading 4, writing 5, speaking 5, and the general 1. And if it is CLB 4, let's say your job offer in tier 4 or 5, then this is the requirements for each of these kind of tests. And they are valid for 2 years. And then you have copies of the passport and basically your status documents, letters from any previous attempts to immigrate, birth certificates for dependent children, marriage certificate if you're married, and these kind of things. And then you have the settlement funds. So this is another thing which is a lot of people do not pay attention and they get their application refused, right? So if you look at the documents related to the funds, so this is what the requirement is, right? So they say that you need to have settlement funds according to the IRCC website. So if I go to IRCC website, so these are the funds. If the number of family members is 1, 14,690. If it's 2, then it's 18,288. So that is the number of funds you would require. And let me go back. And if you see here, so these requirements may be reduced. So they're saying that the requirement for the funds may be reduced if you're already living in Nova Scotia or have an arranged employment, right? So either of the two, if you have, they can reduce, but it will be done by the officer on a case-to-case basis. Then they also say that we will not approve your application if it appears your family income is below the Statistics Canada's low income cutoff, right? So what is that? So this is what it is. So your job offer, the income which you should be able to generate if it's one person is 29,380. If two people, then 36,576. If it is less than that, your application will be refused, right? Or can be refused. So but the good part is that you can meet these requirements in one of the following ways. So this is the income you will earn from your job offer, and if your wife is also with you and she also has a permanent job offer in Nova Scotia, so you can combine both of them as well, right? So let me go back to the checklist, and then if you see here, what else do we have? So official bank statements, yeah. So the funds we have already discussed, and then the investment portfolio. Anything you can show as funds. For example, your bank statement, investment portfolio, those can be shown as funds. So now, if I want to go back to the very front, so I just want to make sure that let's see some of the things which may not have been covered, which is related to the employer, right? Or the specific criteria, right? So very important you need to understand is that the employer has to be in 2 year in business, right? So if the employer is a commercial business, it must be registered with the Nova Scotia Registry of Joint Stock Companies and show that it has a permanent establishment in Nova Scotia as defined as the Canada's income tax. If it's a not-for-profit, it must be registered under the Societies Act, and the employer must have operated in Nova Scotia for at least 2 years, right? So this is another very important thing. And now, and as far as the work experience is concerned, so you can show that one year work experience has to be in the last 5 years, right? So it has to be related to the work and it has to be paid work, right? So unpaid work, unpaid internships do not count, right? So this is something very important. Then the another document which I just wanted to make sure that I will let you know is related to the employer documents because those are critical. So let me just zoom into that particular thing and we'll show you what you need for from the employer. Okay. So okay. So now this is the employer related stuff, right? So it says in addition to the criteria, Novas, you must also meet the following criteria as an employer, right? So the employer must have a history of good workplace and business practices, must be in good standing with the occupational health and safety, and they must also get an employer registration certificate, right? So this is important as well. So a lot of people forget this, right? And last but not the least, so I will generally go over what the whole steps look like, right? So you fill in the form, right? Though you completed the application, submitted the application, right? And if you are nominated, you will get the nomination certificate. And after getting your nomination certificate, you will have 12 months to submit your PR application under the non-express entry stream, right? And then you may also get a letter of support for your temporary work permit. Let's say if your work permit is expiring, you can get a temporary work permit support letter, and with the employer paying the compliance fee of $230 and generating the A number, you should be able to apply for your work permit. And then you apply for permanent residence as well, as I mentioned, within 12 months of your nomination certificate. And when you become a permanent resident, so you provide these kind of information, which is confirmation of permanent residence, copy of your passport, Nova Scotia contact information, including your current address, phone number, and email address. And anytime you have any questions, you can reach out to them at immigration at Nova Scotia, or you go to the last part, it will tell you, so immigration, this is the phone number, this is the toll-free number. You can always check with them if you have any questions. So in nutshell, this is a great stream. And before I end, I would also request you to subscribe to the channel because I've created so many videos which you will find useful. And like the video, share the video. And if you have any specific questions, you may consider booking an appointment as well. Look at the description, and a lot of information could be there as well for you to check. So all the very best and wish you good luck.